It wasn't Kazuko Higa's beauty or intelligence that earned her the title of the Queen of Anatahan, but rather the sheer coincidence that shaped her life and led to the death of many men, her husbands. Anatahan is an island in the Pacific Ocean, and due to the circumstances of the war, it was inhabited only by the farmer Kakuichiro Higa and his wife Kazuko Higa. However, the war also brought 36 Japanese soldiers to this island by chance. The U.S. forces had struck their small boat, forcing them to swim to this remote island, where they then took up residence. This happened in 1944, the same year that the United States extended its control over most of the Mariana Islands but overlooked the small island of Anatahan, leaving it completely isolated from the outside world and not under any government's jurisdiction. Despite the island becoming inhabited, its demographic composition was odd. The 38 inhabitants consisted of 37 men and only one woman, Kazuko, who was already married. But this situation didn't last long. Kakuichiro Higa mysteriously disappeared, and he obviously couldn't have left the island. Alone among all these men, Kazuko chose a new husband from among them, but he was shot by another resident who also wanted to marry Anatahan's queen and sole female resident. This pattern repeated, with one suitor after another being killed by their rivals. During their stay, this small group lived on coconuts, sugarcane, and insects, the only available resources. They even managed to turn coconuts into a type of intoxicating wine, which only worsened the situation. It's easy to imagine how a group of drunken men and a single woman in a secluded island could escalate into chaos. Kazuko had no choice but to manipulate them, resulting in the equivalent of a civil war on the island. Ultimately, 12 of her husbands were killed by other men. Throughout this time, none of them were aware of the war's developments, that Japan had surrendered, and the war had ended. Even when the Americans dropped leaflets on the Mariana Islands informing them that the war was over and they were safe, they dismissed them as a trick. They stayed on the island until 1950, when Kazuko spotted an American ship near the island. She asked for help and to be rescued from the island. When American forces learned that the residents of Anatahan still believed the war was ongoing, they contacted the Japanese, who convinced the island's inhabitants that the war was indeed over. Finally convinced, they decided to return to Japan in 1951 and began sharing the story of the other battle that took place on the island, unknown to the outside world, earning Kazuko the title Queen of the Bees of Anatahan.